We're proud people in Texas, and Texas policies are important to us. Most federal candidates get the proper publicity in order for them to present their platforms. However, the local candidates barely ever get any publicity to present those platforms. Therefore, I'm here with Texas Supreme Court candidate Judge Staci Williams. She's currently a judge at the Dallas District Court, and she is running for the Texas Supreme Court. And this gives you the opportunity to get her, know her personally. Judge Williams, thank you so much for being here today.
Well, thank you for the invitation. It's my pleasure.
So I'm going to ask you, start right off the bat. A morning person or a late night person? Do you like to stay up late or wake up early in the mornings?
Well, I'm known not to sleep at all. So I get up early. I'm known for sending text messages out at 4 a.m., but then I'm also up late till 1 or 2. So I'm morning and evening.
Do you have any friends by sending them text messages at 4 a.m.?
The ones that are up. Those are the ones that I actually talk to at 5 a.m. in the morning.
Well, that's good to know. With the passing of Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, she was one of the more influential justices in the American history, I would say, with Judge Scalia. Who is your favorite who's your favorite U.S. Supreme Court justice?
Well, it's hard to say which one. I think Thurgood Marshall as well as Ruth Bader Ginsburg. And the reason why I like them is because they didn't get their positions just by being good old boys. They actually worked. They honed their crafts as attorneys. They faced discrimination, but they didn't allow that to burden them. They just kept working, and because of their work and achievement, they finally made it to the top of the U.S. Supreme Court. So I think when someone has that kind of tenacity, in spite of the, forces against them. Ruth Bader Ginsburg couldn't even get to clerk on the U.S. Supreme Court until her law professor threatened the justice, who said, if you don't put Ruth Bader Ginsburg as a law clerk, I will never refer any other clerks from Columbia to clerk at the U.S. Supreme Court.
So pick one.
I've got to do both because
you got to do both.
Thurgood Marshall, first African American on the U.S. Supreme Court, he was the legal genius behind many of the civil rights laws upon which I stand on. So, no, I'm a woman and African American. I'm going to meld them both.
Talking about civil law, you have a program in Dallas that you started yourself, and I believe you're funding it yourself, correct?
Yes.
Can you tell me a little bit about it?
Sure. So it's called the Citizen Civil Academy. It's a free, nonpartisan program to educate citizens about the civil court process. Because you turn on the television and you hear all about the criminal cases, what's going on in the criminal courthouse, but people are clueless when I say that I'm a civil judge. I don't put people in jail, but I can make them pay a lot of money. So we started in the fall of 2015, 6 months after I took office. We've had students as young as 7 and as seasoned as 92. We've taken it all over Dallas County. In fact, we've taken it to Smith County. We've even have a Zoom version now for COVID, which is a 45-minute Zoom version. But what I'm most proud about, and you did touch on it, I pay for this program with my campaign funds. No federal, state, or local funds are involved, and it's the only program I think of in the state that's truly for the citizens of the state of Texas. You might hear of other judges talking about their programs, but it affects their dockets. The type of cases that I hear, it's primarily complex commercial cases. Those participants know about the legal system. My program is geared for the everyday citizen who really doesn't even understand the difference between a criminal and a civil court. On top of that, we give lots of information. For example, you might not know, the best kept secret in the whole state of Texas, you can talk to an attorney for 30 minutes for $20.
I didn't even know that.
Yes.
30 minutes. Maybe I should just start. I don't know if that's a good thing on the comments. You can cut that part out. But if you were to define the justice system, if you were to pick one animal to represent the justice system, what animal would that be?
I think I would pick an animal that protected his tribe, so either a lion or a tiger, because they fiercely do it. And the legal system, in order to have the rule of law, in order to have an orderly civil society, we need those individuals who can stand independently and protect the well-being of society.
Well, if you were to define yourself in one word, pick one word that will represent you, what would that word be?
I think it's the term perseverance. My whole career, I've had to work hard for everything. Nothing's been given to me. I've honed my skill. I started out as an in-house corporate counsel in the retail industry, telecommunications, and then defense industries. I became an administrative judge for the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, where I traveled half the state of Texas adjudicating disputes filed by federal employees versus their agencies. I then became an arbitrator, adjudicating labor disputes primarily for the Federal Mediation Conciliation Service, Dallas Area Rapid Transit, NASDAQ FINRA, and the Washington Metropolitan Airport Board. I further refined my skills when I became a district court judge here in Dallas. I've also attended numerous judicial training programs, not only when I was a municipal court judge for the city of Dallas, but as a district court judge, the Texas Municipal Courts Organization. No, it's the District Court Judges Association, and I've even gone a step further and paid for training at the National Judicial College, which is world renowned, because you really have to be the best that you can possibly be and seek all those opportunities. That's why I believe I have the best background to sit on the Texas Supreme Court.
I would have picked a different word because I know how much you campaign individually, and I've seen you put campaign signs out. During rain, I've seen you put campaign signs out. You going out and not literally sleeping at all and jumping around between cities trying to campaign for Texas Supreme Court. But Texas Supreme Court, what's the difference between the Texas Supreme Court, appellate court, district court? Because you're already a sitting judge as of right now.
Wow, that's a great question. I'm so glad you asked it. So currently I'm a district court judge here in Dallas. That is the highest trial court level in the state of Texas. That is where we conduct trials either by jury or by judge. That's where we have witnesses and the parties will introduce evidence. We make a trial transcript. If someone wants to appeal from my court, they appeal to the appellate, which would be the Court of Appeals. In the Court of Appeals, no new evidence is admitted. Those justices on the Court of Appeals look at the transcript and make a determination whether or not the law was followed. The next level is the Texas Supreme Court. The Texas Supreme Court, unlike the U.S. Supreme Court, only hears appeals for civil cases. And by civil, we mean juvenile, family, probate, and what we call the general commercial cases, oil and gas, real estate. In Texas, what's different is that we have a separate court to hear criminal appeals. That's called the Court of Criminal Appeals. So the Court of Criminal Appeals is our Supreme Court for criminal cases. And if you're even more confused, the U.S. Supreme Court, in contrast, hears both civil and criminal cases.
Well, since there are so many different levels of court system, first question, why do judges wear black robes? And does that black robe change as you go up higher into the court system?
Great question. And believe it or not, way in the 1500s, judges actually wore different colors of robes. But when Queen Mary died, the judges attended her funeral and wore black. And that tradition just started. But as you know, in Dallas County, there are judges who wear all different colors of robes, but traditionally judges still wear the black robes. And even at the Texas Supreme Court, they all wear black robes.
So do they get additional stripes, or do they get additional different coloring or anything on their robe as they go higher under the court system?
Well, that's another very good question. So no, they don't. But Justice Rehnquist at the U.S. Supreme Court had attended a Gilbert and Sullivan play, and they had shown the Chief Justice with stripes on his sleeves. So the next day, he went to his office and actually had the seamstresses at the U.S. Supreme Court put stripes on his robe to indicate that he was a Chief Justice.
Well, let's get away from the court system. Let's talk about what's going on during the pandemic. Did you discover your inner chef during the pandemic?
Unfortunately, I did, and I also discovered 40 extra pounds. I love chocolate chip brownies with walnuts, and I make them at night when I finish my court work, and then I start my campaign work at around 11 o'clock. It's nothing better than warm chocolate brownies out of the oven. Also, I cook now. I follow recipes, and I've turned into a gourmet chef. I make souffles. I've tried all different types of cooking.
Would you ever try out for MasterChef at this point?
Well, Actually, I'm afraid of Gordon Ramsay. Was that Gordon Ramsay?
Gordon Ramsay.
Yeah, I'm afraid of Gordon Ramsay. I don't want to be in front of that judge.
Well, I'm going to ask you another question, and then we can wrap it up. The younger individuals who are just getting out, starting college, or trying to go to law school to eventually become a lawyer or a judge, what advice do you have for them?
I think find your passion. When I was in undergraduate school, law just happened to me. I come from a family of physicians, but I didn't do well in chemistry. I didn't do well in biology. In fact, I was going to flunk chemistry, and I went to the head of the chemistry department and I said, this is unacceptable. I cannot have a D on my record. So I negotiated with them to give me a C if I would never step foot in the chemistry department. And he goes, you're pretty good. You need to try government. So I went over to the government department, started making A's, and then I went to law school. I had no idea what area of the law that I wanted to practice in, but the best advice is do the best that you possibly can be. I ended up having a wonderful clerkship in the U.S. Virgin Islands, and I've been all over the country. I've been in-house corporate counsel in the telecommunications, retail, and defense industries. And I just happened to become a judge. It's not that I really wanted to. I'd done such a great job at the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission. They had a vacancy open for the administrative judges, and the head of the office came to me and said, you've done a great job, but we think that you'd be a great administrative judge. And I asked him, I said, what's that? Because I didn't know that administrative judges only adjudicated disputes between federal employees and their agencies. And that was the best experience. So I say work hard, learn your craft, and just believe in yourself. When I ran as a district court judge, I had no money. People ask me, why are you doing this? You're running against a two-term incumbent who has $1 million, every endorsement possible. I said, it's time for change, and I think I'm the right candidate. I had less than $35,000, so I had to do my own social media. I had to put up my own signs. I had to go out and meet people. We ended up taking 62% of the vote. Not because someone told me to run, it's because I believed in myself. I believed in my message.
You mentioned voting, and why is it important that the younger generations cast their voice and vote?
It is so important because whatever position that you vote for, they're going to have effect on your life. For example, your county commissioners will determine what roads get fixed. Your city council members will talk about funding of the police department. Your city council members will appoint your municipal court judges. If you've ever gotten a speeding ticket, don't you want someone who's going to be nice and empathetic? You've got your county court at law judges who will determine probate issues. If someone in your family dies and you have to probate the wills. You've got family court issues. My gosh, in Dallas County, the divorce rate is 50%. Well, don't you want good family law judges sitting on the bench? For the district courts, if you run a business, don't you want judges who actually have a realistic viewpoint of the world and not someone who just got in just because they knew someone? So you have that, you can vote for those individuals, but once you vote, your obligation does not stop. You need to hold those individuals accountable. Go to the city council meetings, go to the county commissioner meetings, go sit inside of a courtroom and see if that individual is acting according to your will. But every level of a political position affects your life, and you need to have a determining vote in who sits in those positions.
You know what I loved about what you just said, and to kind of draw a conclusion from what you just said, every single person and every single individual that you just talked about running, it's at the local level. And you didn't mention anything about the federal, because that is not influencing our everyday life. The federal election doesn't change and alter what happens in our, as you said, local environment that we're currently living in. And I love that. And that's exactly what you answered my next question.
Oh, great.
And so to wrap it up, I'm going to give you a chance to ask me a question so I can make this fair. So what's your question for me?
What gives you your energy?
Oh, what gives me my energy? I don't know. I do a lot of these crazy stuff. I alter my mood at all time. But one thing that ultimately gives me everyday energy, and what I look forward to, is that I view every day as a new day, and I see it as an opportunity to correct the previous mistakes. I see it as an opportunity to grow based on what I have learned, and constantly improve, because that's what I think we should do as human beings, is constantly find ways to improve ourselves before, and find a connection with ourselves that makes us comfortable in our lives. That's what I go by.
Great.
Well, thank you so much for coming in, and I appreciate you, and good luck.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you.